Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing something that I've never done before, something that I have been wanting to do, something that I'm very excited to do. Today I will be skydiving for the first time. Honestly, this is something that me and my friend have been planning to do for a while now together, we've had this date planned for a while now. So the fact that it's today feels very unreal to me. That's probably a good thing. I keep telling the few people that I've told that I'm shocked that all the anxiety that I've been feeling this week and stuff has absolutely nothing to do with skydiving. It genuinely and truly, I've had things happening this entire week that have just, I think, kept me preoccupied mentally. That honestly, my friend and I would be texting about it and I kept forgetting that it was coming, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's literally this Sunday. And I'm like, June 4th is literally in a couple days and it's now June 4th. So yeah, I'm super excited to do it. I honestly don't think it's gonna hit me that I am skydiving until they put the harness on you. So I'm sure once I get there, the nerves will start kicking in. But honestly, right now, current Sarah is just currently vibing. I am super excited. We're doing it in Grand Haven, Michigan. So it's gonna be really close to the lake. You're supposed to be seeing these beautiful views your whole way down. And I opted for the photo and video package, so I'm hoping to share it with y'all what I can on here. I don't know if they have rules about the video, if it can be posted on YouTube or not, but at the end of the day, I want the photos and videos for myself, but I would also like the ability to make a YouTube video to show y'all this really cool experience that I'm about to do. But if I can only share the photos, that's the explanation. I don't know going into this. I'm not sure what I can or can't use. Yeah, I am so excited and so ready to get going onto the road. It's gonna be so much fun too because we are headed to the beach after, which I think will be probably the best way to just and I'm reading a book and a journal because I would really like to journal after the experience too. I am also pet sitting this week, so I need to go take out Mr. Bingo real quick. And then I need to pack a lunch and get going. I think it's safe to assume the next clip is probably going to be of me at the place, potentially jumping, I don't know. So if this seems like a really calm clip and then all of a sudden I'm falling out of a plane, that would be why. But anyway, I will see you guys soon.
Today.
We're going skydiving.
We're going skydiving. We have an airplane 14,000 feet above the earth.
Yes, we are.
Ready for this?
I am, yeah. That'd be good.
You just jumped out of an airplane.
I did.
2.5 miles in the sky.
Absolutely crazy.
Not so bad, right?
Great.
That's how you go. Perfect.
I am now in my car back from skydiving. That was literally, I think, the coolest experience I've ever had. Holy cow. I loved it so much. It was so much fun. I can see why people love it so much and would want to do it more often. It was great. I loved it, and the video was so cute. I only got to see the video of me jumping. I didn't get to see the video of before and after yet, but so much fun, and the photos were fun. Yeah, it was a good time. 10 out of 10 recommend. But I do have to get going because my friends and I are headed to get some food, and I'm about to drink so much water. I will definitely talk more about this later. I just wanted to get my initial reaction. But yeah, it was a great time. Hi y'all, it's your girl Sarah about 4-ish months later. I wanted to check in / wrap up this video. I just finished editing it and realized that that last clip of me in the car was the final say that I had about my experience, and that I feel like I didn't really get to fully wrap up what it all meant to me and everything. Leading up to the jump, I really did not have that much anxiety that I think I would have if I didn't have everything that was going on in my life. A lot of drama and change happening in my life during that time period, which I think hindsight's 2020 was probably for the better of me before I went on that jump, because genuinely and truly, like, all of my anxiety and mental health was going towards the other things in my life at that moment. That when I said earlier in the video that I kept forgetting that the jump was happening, I genuinely mean that. Like, again, I feel like it's probably just for the best anyway, so that I wouldn't psych myself out. But even if the stuff that was happening during my life during that time wasn't happening, I feel like something that genuinely helped me was that anytime plans of skydiving came up, or the thought that I was going to be skydiving came up, literally every single time it came up in my brain, and I would get even just butterflies, I would be like, Sarah, you're not nervous, you're excited. You are excited to jump. You are excited to skydive. I would tell myself that repeatedly. And since we had it planned months in advance, it was literally like repetition. I know there's like a saying that I am not remembering in this current moment that I'm going to regret, because every time I think back on my skydiving experience, I think back to that mentality of like, it's something along the lines of like, what you tell yourself is what you're going to believe. And I really saw that play into action, because when it came time to jump and like to like drive up to Michigan and to even like put my harness on and stuff, like literally all those moments, they were so exciting. And yeah, there was probably like a little bit of nerves going on, but genuinely, as I was telling myself over and over again that I was not nervous and that I was excited, it genuinely helped. I have never stuck to a mentality so hard for months and months and months like that before, towards something that would understandably and naturally scare someone. And seeing myself go through that mental process and come out the other side and be like, see how much emotions and mental energy you saved by not being scared about it beforehand, so that you could just live in the moment. And like, I feel like it was so good. It was so good for so many reasons, and I wish I could articulate all of them. So long story short, if you have a bucket list item like this, I cannot recommend more than start prepping your mental side of things before doing bucket list things like this. And maybe it's not even as terrifying as skydiving is, or if skydiving doesn't terrify you and something else does, whatever it is, don't let the fear of what it is stop you from doing it if it's something that you've always wanted to do. And I know that is cliche, but seriously and legitimately, when I say that I've never done that to myself before, just like repeatedly telling myself over and over again how I want to perceive this moment for me, I've never done that. And it genuinely worked. Like, yes, that's not to say that when you're going through it, you're not still going to experience something, but you're just going to save yourself so much time, energy, emotions, and the mental energy. Stepping off of my soap opera box right now. I remember like leaving that experience and being like, if I don't convey that in my YouTube video, like I will be so upset with myself. So that's why I had to just hop on my little box real quick. Being off of that box real quick and going back to the memory of it all. The drive up, I think, was really not memorable. If I'm not mistaken, there was a Jeep or a car or something in front of me that had a little sticker on it about living in the moment or something like that. I will insert it here. Like, seeing that on my drive up to the skydive place was just like really affirming and confirming that like, this is me living in my moment. Despite everything else that's going on in my life, I'm still choosing to take this time, recognize where I am with my life, and do something that's been on my bucket list for literally years. Then I got to the place. I was the first one there, so I think that's when the initial nerves started kicking in, because I just have a lot of social anxiety. From what I read online, because they send you like a ton of emails before, and understandably so. I mean, it's a life-endangering type of thing to do, life-endangering activity, whatever the phrase is that I'm looking for. I think they said that the checkout process was going to be a long one, so I think I pretty much parked and went right on ahead in. Once everyone was checked in, we had our training. And when I tell you that training could not be longer than 5 minutes, I think it was literally 5 minutes tops. And I want to say the first half of it was not even about how the jump's gonna work, how you're supposed to jump, any of it. Like nothing like training like on that end. The first half of the training was them just telling us how the parachute works. And I think that's understandable because I'm sure there's lots of questions anyway. So I think they're just gonna get it out of the way right away. And they wanted to show us like all the safety guards and how many parachutes we actually had on us, and wanted to show you how safe skydiving can be. And so I think it was probably good just for the betterment of the group that they did that immediately. But it was really funny looking back that our training was only like 5 minutes long and they spent literally half of it just telling us how the parachute worked. And it's even more funny because people probably are watching this video like, well, duh, it's important to know how the parachute works. But like when I went tandem at that skydiving place, like, yes, it was good to know how it worked, but also you were not going to touch it, period, like at all during your jump. And that's whether your jump goes great and your person who's tandem with you, who's attached to you, is conscious the whole time and they pull the parachute, or that's whether they fall unconscious, which is very rare, and they aren't able to pull the parachute. It's your third parachute that calculates how close you are to the ground, and it's going to pull out automatically without you doing anything. So I laugh looking back because it's like, yes, it's still good to know about it, but like at the end of the day, I was not going to be touching it, period. So it wasn't going to do anything for me, you know? Anyhow, the second half of the training gave us basically 3 instructions. First instruction, jumping out of the plane, we were to jump like this, just like cross your hands over your chest so that your limbs aren't getting in the way of your person who's tandem with you. And second instruction is when they give you the little tap on the shoulder, which I think you guys can see in the video. Then we are good to like make a kind of like a certain pose so that we can like while we're free falling, so we can like feel the air. And so the only 2 instructions in the air. The last instruction is when you're getting towards the ground and you're just about to land. They were warning us ahead of time that they're going to yell at us to put our knees up. And that's basically just to lift your knees as high as you can towards your chest so that when you land with such force, you won't just like, you'll give yourself a chance to like land on your feet, you know? And that was it. That was the only 3 instructions we got. And then it was a smaller airport, so they had to do it in groups. And I want to say we were group like 3 or something. So we did get to watch a couple groups before us put their harnesses on, get onto the plane, and then see their landings. Our turn, they called our group up. Me, my friend, and my friend's friend, we all got to go together in the same group. And then we had a 4th male with us who was also jumping with us. All got our harnesses on at the same time. And then me and that man, we both paid for a photo and video package, so, which I'm so thankful for. I'm glad I paid for the full package. I just feel like that was something I would really regret not doing if I didn't do it. So funny looking back at me in those moments because, and I think I had like just general nerves about the whole thing, like not excessive nerves about anything related to the jump itself. The nerves that I did have during those clips were about how I was being portrayed on camera, and I was really nervous because I kept like talking over the guy who was asking me the questions during the video and stuff, and I just felt really silly the entire time, which I'm sure they're used to, I'm sure. But I was like, I'm gonna look so stupid on camera. And that's why I laugh looking back at that footage now. We had to wait under like a little overhead thing for just like 5 minutes until the plane landed and then turned itself around so that it could go back up into the air. And then once that happened, me and my guy, we got onto the plane first. And what I didn't know about that was that meant we would be towards the back of the plane, which would then mean we would be jumping last. Because prior to getting on the plane, I kept telling my friends, I don't necessarily want to go first, but I definitely don't want to go last. I would ideally go somewhere in the middle. Not like I had much choice, little did I know, but little did I also know that by going onto the plane first meant that I would be jumping last. Fun fact, in case you're gonna go skydiving, just keep that in mind. Again, not that I had much choice, it was just all in the moment, and it was just where I happened to be standing, and the fact that I was just ready to get onto the plane. It was so funny, because even getting onto the plane, they had like the jets still running, and like you could feel the power of like the wind from the jets, and we were like, oh my gosh, the wind! And I was cracking up, because like, here we are, physically on the ground, just going onto a plane, and we're complaining about the wind that we're feeling from the jet of the plane, and we're still physically on the ground. Well, we're just about to be falling out of a plane at 14,000 feet. Like, I can't. It was just so funny. I'll get boarded on, and pretty much the plane, it was a small plane, but it just had like 2 benches, and then you are like packed in there like sardines. So my guy sat down first. I sat down right in front of him, and then everyone else sat down. In order for everyone to fit, we all had to be like practically in each other's laps. So it was pretty packed in there like sardines. And it was fine anyway, because eventually in the flight, like while you're mid-flight, they harness themselves to you. And again, no nerves really yet. I was like, I would have thought by now this would have kicked in, but I love plane rides, and so that part didn't really make me anxious. I think I was just focused on that, honestly. I was just like, ooh, a plane ride. I haven't been on a plane forever. And I was just like, you know, and also like the motion of going backwards, like, because like the way you're facing, is not like how you normally sit on like a commercial flight when you're like flying to like go somewhere. With skydiving, the way we're sitting so that we can easily exit out of the plane, it's like you're kind of like on a roller coaster that's going backwards. And so anyway, all I had to say is that was taking up all of my mental energy at that current moment, was just like looking around and being like, wow, that's so cool. Get into the air, and I keep asking my guy, I'm like, so what point should I put on these goggles? Because they just had the goggles like attached to my strap, and I was like, at what point should I do this, you know, like, and he's like, oh, not yet, not yet. And so that was the part that started the initial nerves for me, was like, I hope he doesn't forget that I need my goggles, because they're attached to me and I'm gonna need them. Long story short, of course they're not gonna forget, but this is my first time jumping, so of course I was just like way overthinking the situation. We get up to like, you know, the proper altitude of 14,000 feet, and I'm looking ahead of me, and my friend that I came with is catty corner to me. Her friend that she brought is right in front of me, and then the man who joined our group was to the left of me. Between my friend and her friend, rock, paper, scissors for who's gonna go first. And I'm like cracking up in the back. I'm like, that is crazy. Still not comprehending that I am going last. And my friend's friend lost, and so she went first. And I'm telling you, it was kind of surreal watching everyone jump before me and being the last one on the plane. It was like not a feeling I've ever had before. Like, obviously there's still the pilot, and then there's a camera person who was sitting behind us too, like taking photos and stuff, but I've never had that feeling before. And that also hit me mid-flight too, was like, I've never boarded a plane with intentions of jumping off that plane mid-flight, you know? And that's like a silly like realization to have hit, because that's the whole point of what skydiving is. But I remember saying that to my guy too, and he was cracking up, because like, it's just like an obvious observation, but I'm just sitting here like, this is the first time I've ever sat on a plane that I'm actively intending to jump out of, you know? Just watching everyone jump before me, then the realization that I was going to be going last, it was just wild. It was like, oh, they were on the plane and now they're no longer. And there's nothing I can control about that, which is again a silly thought, but it was just like freeing in a way. It was just like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And so although I didn't want to go last, I found that there was a lot of perks with my experience to just be able to really feel every moment. Like, I felt like I really got to experience everything. And also seeing their faces right before they jumped, I mean, it was great. It was like the perfect seat. I don't know. It was like the perfect seat in the house, I guess. Friend's friend jumped first, and then my friend jumped quickly after her, and then the man jumped. And then it was just me and my dude. And I was like getting ready, getting prepared. I saw everyone else go. They all just kind of like crouched over, and then their guys just like pushed them out with them. And so I was getting ready, and I think you can hear this in the video. It might be a little hard with like the music and stuff, but my guy told me to sit down, and I was like, sit down. He's like, yeah, get down. And I was confused because everyone else was standing when they left the plane. And what I didn't know was that he wanted me to have my feet dangle on the outside of the plane, just so I can like feel the air and like really, and since I was the last one on the plane, like we had time to do that. And so I just sat there for, I think it was like maybe 15-ish seconds with my legs hanging out of the side of the plane, with just the wind whipping past me. And the way that you have to jump, you have to like lean your whole body weight against him. And so he tilted my head back, and my head was on his shoulder. My whole body weight is pressed up against his. My feet are just dangling off the side of this plane. And I am just like, holy cow. I think I was just, it was in that moment, that's when the nerves kick in. This whole entire time I'm thinking, when are the nerves gonna kick in? When are the nerves gonna kick in? Like, to the extent that I was expecting. Like, again, there's still like minimal nerves. Like, I'm not gonna say that I didn't have any, but like, I knew there was like an extent of nerves that I needed to hit, and it just wasn't hitting yet. And I was like, at what point is it gonna hit that I'm jumping out of this plane? It literally was not until my feet were off the edge of that plane and my legs were just dangling in the air, and the only thing keeping me attached to this plane is the man that I'm strapped to and my bottom that is still sitting on the edge of the plane. Like, nothing is stopping me from falling out of this plane at this point. Which again is such a silly observation, because it's like, well, duh, like that's the whole point why you're here. There's obviously no turning back at this point. And rewinding real quick, while we were also in the air, first instruction, one of the only 3 instructions they gave us on the ground was that we were going to be doing this. And before everyone started jumping, he had me put my goggles. So we got the goggles on. It was like, you're just gonna be holding on to your loops right here. And I was like, are you sure? Because I thought I was told to do this. So like, at what point do I do this? And he's like, you're not. You're just gonna hold on to your loops. And I was like, okay. I laughed about it with my friends on the ground because I was like, little does he know, in the training that I have done, you are not supposed to do that. And we all laughed because we knew the training was only 5 minutes and he's obviously a professional. I digress. We had a good laugh about it. I'm sitting on the edge of the plane, holding on to my loops, just like, this is when the nerves are kicking in and this is when it's all hitting me. There is no turning back. You will be falling out of this plane. And I still get like goosebumps when I think about it. Like the fact that I did that. Like, yeah, like the whole like jumping tandem and free falling and skydiving and then parachuting to the ground is like, that's a whole thing too. And we'll get to that in a second. But like the fact that I sat on that edge of that plane, just holding on to the loops of my harness, strapped to some stranger who I just met like a half hour ago, thinking I'm falling out of a plane at 14,000 feet. And I still did it, you know, like again, there was no turning back at that point. But I look back at that and get goosebumps at the fact that I still did it. Like with all the nerves I was feeling in that very moment of just sitting on that plane for 15 seconds, I get goosebumps. I'm like, I did that. Like I conquered what I wanted to conquer. Anyway, I'm sitting there. I don't know when he's pushing off at this point. I am just so focused at the fact that the only thing I'm holding on to is the loops of my harness. So I'm literally just gripping the loops of my harness for dear life. And all of a sudden I feel a little, and he just whips us out. I think we do like maybe 1 or 2 flips free falling. And then the rest of the free falling, we were just pretty much parallel to the ground. And it wasn't long after we left the plane when he gave me the tap on the shoulder and I went like this to like feel the whole free fall. It was the coolest experience. I wish I could explain what it's like to just be falling towards the earth. It's an experience that is really hard to describe. And I understand the thrill of it. I understand why there's thrill seekers who do this on a regular basis. Because I forget how many my guy has done, like how many jumps he's done, but like that's a question I asked him like while we were flying and getting up to altitude. Because it was like a 10-minute flight to get up to altitude. But anyway, I want to say he's done something like over 20,000. It was some crazy high number like that. And I get it. After my first jump, I get why people get so into it. Like I understand it completely. But yeah, the free fall was so much fun. It was like, I want to say about 60, maybe 90 seconds of just pure free falling. The parachute wasn't out yet. I think we had like a little weight thing that was floating up behind us. But other than that, he didn't pull the parachute yet. And that was kind of the whole point of why you go at 14,000 feet is because then you can free fall for longer before the parachute needs to get pulled. It was so cool. I mean, I was screaming practically the entire time. If I wasn't screaming, my mouth was just agape and just open. And that was something I wasn't anticipating. Like, I did a little research beforehand, and some people mentioned that it is cold up there, obviously, because you're in a different part of the atmosphere at that point. So I did make sure to wear long pants, which I definitely recommend if you go skydiving, even if it's in the summer, because mine was in the summer, but it was still good that I wore long pants. Anyway, that was something I was not anticipating, was that if I left my mouth open, which is again a silly thought, but if I left my mouth open the entire time, the way that the wind like is just coming at you, my mouth has never been more dry in my whole life. The way that I was constantly re-wetting my mouth, which I know sounds gross, but the way I was constantly re-wetting like the top of my mouth and swallowing my saliva so that I could keep it moist, because I just refused to close my mouth. I just kept going. And the way that the wind just kept coming at me, obviously because you're hurling yourself towards the earth, was shook. I was like, girl, get a grip. But I was enjoying it. I did not want to stop myself from enjoying the moment. And even on the ground, like all the cameramen there, have fun with the camera, play around with the camera, you know, do what you want because you paid for that. It's my first time jumping, you know. I was like, knew that there was like, not pressure, but like, you know, like you're being filmed, you know? So I knew that like there's probably an expectation of me to act a certain way on camera. I didn't pay for it for that reason. I just wanted it for the memory's sake. And so that's why I just did whatever I was feeling in the moment, whether I was screaming, whether my mouth was just open and I wasn't screaming. Like another thing that my guy told me on the plane ride up was he was just, I'm sure he tells this to everyone that he jumps with for the first time. He was like, well, if you get scared, just start screaming. because that forces the air out of your lungs and then you are forced to breathe. That's what I did. I think initially when I was falling out of the plane, I was just so clenched and so shook that I was falling out of a plane, and I've never experienced anything like that before. I wasn't screaming. But then when we got parallel with the earth, I was like, you're falling, babe. Like, it's time to start screaming. And so that's when it kicked in. I'm glad I did that because it made me focus on breathing. It made me focus on the fact that my mouth was so dry. It made me focus on the fact that I'm still very alive in this moment falling towards the earth. And it was just a good, like, reality checkpoint. Those 60-ish to 90-ish seconds was awesome. Like, it is definitely the most thrill-seeking type of thing I think I've ever felt. It was really cool, and I would do it again in a heartbeat for sure. Then after you free fall, that's when he pulls the parachute, and I could feel it. Like, you can feel it go whoosh. And because all of a sudden you're no longer parallel, you get whipped into like an upright position. Sensation of that too was also very much like a thrill-seeking type of sensation. Like, it kind of felt like a roller coaster and a little bit like the way that felt in my gut a little bit, to just be like whipped back like that. It was so much fun because now all of a sudden we're just sitting and we're just vibing. And I will say this, I have gone parasailing once before this. I went parasailing, I think, when I was 16. And if you want to go skydiving, I definitely recommend going parasailing first because it gives you, A, the sensation of what it's like to just be sitting in a parachute, and then B, the opportunity to experience what it's like to just be up in the air with a parachute and not have your feet on the ground. Because that's how I would describe it to people after I did it and they asked me about the experience. Was after you get through the free fall and the parachute goes up, it's literally just like parasailing all the way down to the ground. If you've ever gone parasailing, you know how genuinely it's actually pretty calm. Like, once you get up to where you need to be in a parasail, you're just sitting in the harness with the parachute. Like, chill, it's so quiet, so serene. It's not like you're being whipped around or something. I would describe that very similarly to parasailing. We probably had the parachute up, and I'd say it probably took us about 5-ish minutes to get to the ground once the parachute was up. So in total, I would say the fall took about 6 to 7-ish minutes, like free fall included with the parachute all the way down. Pretty quick time span of what you're doing. Once the parachute's up, it's chill vibes. Like, you know the parachute did the thing, you know your person who's attached to you did the thing, and now all we need to do is get to the ground in a safe manner. So chill, because at that point it's no longer about the thrill. At that point it's like you get to look around you and you get to see the surroundings and you get to see how high you're up and like actually appreciate that. And since we did it right next to the lake as well, it was so beautiful. I know my guy on the plane ride up, he was like, look at the air quality today, it sucks today. And I was just laughing because it's my first time jumping and who knows if and when I'll ever jump again. So I was just like, this is what it is, I'm just gonna get what I get, you know. And I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. And obviously this is my first and only so far experience doing it, so I have nothing else to compare it to, but I thought it was beautiful even with quote unquote bad air quality. I don't know, it's kind of like when you're in a plane and you look out the window and you see like all the ground and you're just kind of just appreciating like how beautiful the world is, and that's kind of what it felt like. So it was very, very cool. And then he just kind of steered the parachute all the way down. Yeah, it was very chill. We got down just fine, and then thankfully my friends who stayed on the ground the entire time were filming all of us landing, which I'm so appreciative of, and I included in the video earlier. My landing was so easy. Like, I'm sure it wasn't like a perfect landing, but for a first timer, I feel like it was pretty near perfect, because also hearing how the other two's landing experiences went, it sounded a little bit harsher. So mine was pretty easy. He told me to lift up my knees, which I did because I was taught that in training. And he put his feet down and then I quickly put mine down, and that was that. It was really easy. Disconnected himself from me, and then he shot that little clip of my reaction to having landed and get back to the ground. Say that the vibe in that is very similar to the vibe of when I rode King de Ka for the first time. And for those who don't know, King de Ka is a roller coaster in Six Flags, New Jersey. It used to be the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world. And the first time I rode it, I was 10 years old, and it was still the fastest and tallest roller coaster in the world. It's literally a 30-second ride. It can fit 2 Statues of Liberty underneath it. I digress. It's a pretty intense roller coaster. I remember getting off that roller coaster as a 10-year-old and being like proclaimed and screamed out loud, like, yes, we're back on the ground, and like just excited to like be on the ground, and like my wobbliness of my feet and just like feeling the ground and how steady the earth is. And that's very much the same vibe of what it felt like to finally land after skydiving. Was just the pure adrenaline raging through my body of this experience that I just had. I love adrenaline. I love roller coasters. I got back on the ground, and every time I watch that clip back of him filming my reaction to like getting back on the ground, I just see 10-year-old Sarah in that clip, just being happy to be back on the ground after a super cool experience. Not me getting emotional. Okay, chill. Just see little 10-year-old Sarah in that clip and just being like, did it. And that was so much fun. And yeah, just all the good things. And after we filmed that clip, I made eye contact with my best friend Amazon, who made the plans with me to go skydiving. And we did a little run and hug. Like, it was just like a little movie clip, and it was just so sweet of us, like being like, we did this thing together, we lived through this event together, and it was the best. I would not take back that experience for the whole world. Like, I'm so grateful that I got to experience that. I feel so blessed that I've gotten to experience that. It was just so much fun. And once we got back to the ground and we got our harnesses off, we got to go to like the little photo and video viewing area, and we all got to watch each other jump. It was just so cute getting to reminisce on literally just the events that were just happening, and the people who stayed on the ground the entire time got to watch those clips of us too. And it was really cute seeing all our different experiences. We all got really cool photos out of it, and I'll insert some photos now of my favorite ones that I got from it. It's one of those cool experiences that I feel like is on, I would argue, probably a majority of people's bucket lists, and it's not one that I don't know that everyone gets to do in their life. And it's definitely changed my perspective on life, especially considering everything that was going on in my life during that time. It gave me a boost of confidence that I have not felt in many years, I would say. It's like, okay, Sarah, if you can live through this moment and through this event, you're gonna tell me you can't do something else that terrifies you? You're gonna tell me you're gonna let something else terrify you more than skydiving? You're crazy, you know? Like, it just, and even like reliving this now and getting to re-talk about my memory and experiences with you guys right now, like, it's such a good reminder of like the fact that I literally did that 4 months ago. In hindsight, that's really not that long ago. Like, to me, that feels like eternity ago just because of everything that I've had to deal with since, but it's literally 4 months ago. That really wasn't that long ago. And I should still carry that mindset with me. Like, if I can do something that is that challenging and that terrifying, what it takes to get through it, all the mental prep work that I did to get through that and like prepare myself for it, then I truly, with God's help, of course, I truly can conquer anything. Like, and I know that probably sounds cocky, but if you know me in real life, you know that that's not a mindset I generally carry. And that's what I mean by doing these things that are on your bucket list, especially the ones that you think you'll just never have time to achieve, or whatever reason you think that you won't be able to achieve it. Making yourself do it and making yourself go through it to achieve it will show you so much more about yourself than you will ever imagine. I really needed to recap that memory because it's something I genuinely learned about myself this year, and I don't want that lesson or takeaway to be forgotten so quickly. Again, not to be talking so many cliches in this video, but I feel like doing something like skydiving is just geared towards cliches coming out, but it was a great experience. And then afterwards, we met up with some more friends in the downtown area to get lunch, and then we also went to the beach, and then after that we got ice cream, and it was just so much fun. It was a great day. I think one of the funny parts about reliving this memory is the fact that I did not tell anyone that I was doing it. The only people who knew were my roommate and then a few friends who I was trying to get to come with us. I didn't tell any of my family. I didn't tell any of my other friends. Living that experience fully, I was fully in the moment, fully present, fully mentally present, fully ready to just experience everything. But on top of that, fully just ready to experience it without what feels like the pressure of society in a way. Whereas in the fact that no one knew I was going to be doing this. No one knew that on some Sunday in June, I was planning to do this. It was also so freeing. It was like, I'm purely doing this for myself. No one is going to stop me. No one is going to convince me otherwise. No one's interpretation of what this is or their experience, if they've experienced this, from what it is, like, no one is going to affect me experiencing this moment for myself. A lot of ways, skydiving is one of the most freeing experiences I think I've ever had. I hope me explaining this, I know this is a really long portion of the video compared to like the skydiving portion of the video. I hope that you can see what I mean by freeing. Like, it just, in all of the avenues, it was just such a freeing experience, and I would do it again and again and again. And it was so much fun getting to share it with my family and friends, like one at a time, telling people that I did it. They're absolute pure shock. Telling all my coworkers that I did it, like everyone who I told, like they were all so shocked. They didn't believe I did it until I showed them the footage. And it was like I got to relive the moment over and over and over again. And now I get to relive it again, creating this video, sharing it with you guys. And anytime I want to relive it, I can just rewatch it on my channel. Like, I love getting to share memories and relive memories. A great experience overall. And like I told people after I did it, I would do it again in a heartbeat if I had a chance. It is a rather expensive endeavor, but if I ever got the chance in a couple years, or if anyone wanted to go and they had no one to go with, or if they wanted me to come along, I would do it again and again and again in a heartbeat. It was so much fun, and I cannot recommend it more. Yeah, this is a 40-minute video of me wrapping things up. I do have plans with some friends tonight, so I will let you guys go. As always, I hope you guys are having a good day, and if you're not, that's okay too. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!